Now, the Quran asks a very simple question.
It does? But I thought it gave all the answers. And, that's the problem, really. If you think that a single book has all the answers, you probably need to read more books. And that's even more apparent if you think that you can conquer atheism in, well, any amount of minutes, really, seeing as it's a belief claim, not a thing or a place. There will always be atheists, just like there will always be theists, more than likely. Even if God is proven or otherwise, somehow, there will always be those who are or are not convinced. I mean, how else do you explain freaking flat earthers?
In chapter number 52, verse number 35 of the Quran, it says, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ.
Man, I wish I could speak other languages, mostly so I would know people aren't screwing with me. I mean, it's the classic, isn't it? Oh, you want that person to date you? Just ask them this. And I'm going to use German for this, since of all the languages I'm bad at, it's one of them. You just say, Ich habe Brot, only later to discover that you told them that you have bread. Now, to be fair, they did go on a date at you, but it was probably only because they were hungry.
Were they created from nothing, or were they themselves the creators of themselves?
Strange question that only leads to a bunch more. Who's they? What does it mean to create? How do you define nothing? Define themselves in this context? So much to ask, and let me guess, so little will be explained. Because why explain what you mean when you can be ambiguous as fuck, so no one knows what the hell you are talking about? So the smart will ignore, and the stupid will think you probably said something they just don't understand.
Now, if you speak to an educated atheist, they will not deny the fact that the universe had a beginning.
I like that throwing in the educated atheist bit. It has to be done, and is often but not always followed by statements that aren't necessarily true of someone with an education. I mean, the universe had a beginning. What universe? Our universe? Okay, but that's the universe as we understand it. But what about the before the universe as we know it? Does that count as the universe? Some would argue no, for pretty good reasons, regardless of their education. A big part of that being because we don't know what happened before the current state of the universe. And more importantly, as I often say, neither do you.
Because this is pretty much scientifically proven. Through the expanding universe, for example, we know that it had a beginning, since it's still expanding.
It's funny you say pretty much, but yeah, sure. Current understanding is that the universe had a given point it started from to become what it is today. That's fine. Not sure how that's going to prove me wrong with the old God boy claims, though, but fine.
However, when you start speaking to them about what happened before the universe, this is when you get an unsure answer.
Oh my goodness, they don't know what happened at some point. Well, that's it. We did it. We got him. Because look. Our book says God did it. And they don't know that he didn't. So he must have. Because that's how fucking anything works. And me am the smart.
They'll say, we don't know.
And how could they? That's not a valid answer. You have to say, it was this thing, and I am 100% sure because I am 100% sure of my thing. Because if I'm not 100% sure and have any doubts, well, the doubts are devil's playthings. That's how he gets in your head and goes, doesn't it sound like a lot of bollocks? Of course, that might just be your sense of reason, but I prefer to think it's literal evil.
And this is the first point of contention.
How the fuck is an honest answer contentious? I mean, I'm not saying that you're lying, but if you find honesty contentious, well, it's a little bit suspect to say the very least.
If they don't know, then why do they call themselves atheists?
Because atheism has literally, and I mean literally, nothing to do with claims or understandings of how the universe started or what happened before then, or pretty much anything other than the fact that they don't believe in God. Wow, the fact that you don't seem to know that is more than a little bit embarrassing for someone who is claiming to conquer atheism, my dude.
Since that word means without God, and agnostic, which is a better word, means...
A better word? What the hell do you mean by that? I mean, you didn't say because it's X, it's just a better word and that's a fact. I mean, that is kind of a truism among theists. They really seem to hate the idea of atheism because it's technically rigid. I don't believe in God. But they think that agnostic is, I don't believe in God, but I could if you just give me enough sweeties. When frankly, how they are used today is more, well, they go together. Since if you don't believe in God, you are, as a matter of fact, an atheist. Because you are, in fact, not theist. Calling yourself agnostic in that context is kind of meaningless. Although, what I understand of people who prefer to call themselves agnostic is the assumption that atheism comes with baggage. But it really doesn't. It's just that apologists like to pretend it does to scare you away from identifying as one, because that would be bad.
Without knowledge, because it comes from the two Greek words, without the meaning without, and gnostos, meaning knowledge, meaning without knowledge.
Wait, that's why you think it's a better word? But they are just different words. How can one be better? That's fucking stupid. There's only one word that's better than all the others, and that's whiskey, obviously. But even still, I mean, in this context, and it's one I would agree, you can be both. If you are not a theist, you are atheistic. And if you don't know, in this case, if God exists, because seriously, who the fuck actually does, you would also be agnostic. Shonk.
Where are they going now?
Where you going now? Who knows? I would prefer not somewhere really, really dumb, but I ain't holding my breath.
If you really want to stop an atheist in his tracks, all you really require is one deductive argument.
I don't know, man. When I'm speeding down the highway on my turbo donkey, the only thing that's going to stop me is a really, really, really big ass. Oh God, not that kind.
And deduction has always been part of the scientific method and maths, and thus it's really the strongest kind of logical argument.
Okay, but here's the thing about logical arguments. They can sound good and be perfectly logical, but that doesn't make them true. Logic, by its very nature, has little to do with objective reality and is more about thinking about things. Because if you start your thinking with faulty facts, you are inherently going to come to faulty conclusions about the world those facts apply to. Like if you say, base your worldview on a book that doesn't reflect reality in any reasonable sense.
Now, the argument goes like this. That everything, number one, everything that begins to exist has a cause.
Oh my shit, are you serious? This is your big brain smart guy I'm going to have done defeat the atheists. Jesus, dude. I thought it was going to be at least something new and stupid, not old and really, really, really stupid. I mean, for fuck's sake. Have you actually said this shit to an atheist, let alone an educated one? Because I think if you had, you might not be so willing to share such an embarrassment online. Oh well, maybe he's going to change it up somehow. I just doubt it.
Let me say that one more time.
No, watch me. There's the bit where you go to say it and boom, now it's gone. Because there's literally no reason for you to say it again. Mostly because the premise is missing an important part of it. Everything that begins to exist has a cause within the universe as we understand it. That is to say, there could be things beyond our universe or things that we have yet to understand that are in fact causeless. But whatever, carry on. I'm sure you'll get everything else right.
And number two, that the universe began to exist, as we've just mentioned.
I'm not going to repeat myself, unlike you trying to, on the whole understanding front, but sure. Now, what are the chances that, therefore, this thing that has a bunch of other unrelated qualities to the universe starting must exist because of how big my brain is?
3 logically follows, which is, the universe, therefore, has a cause.
Yeah, with that premise, that is relatively logically sound. But as I said, that doesn't make it true. Everything has a cause might actually be false. Or the idea that the universe began to exist might be wrong, because our understanding of the evidence for that might be missing something. Or a bunch of other shit. So yeah, logic doesn't prove anything, my dude.
Now, the question is,
is there an echo in here? Also, I thought you already asked the question with our book though. Is there another question? That feels like far too many questions for my liking.
what kind of cause is this? Because if we say that that cause had a cause, and that cause had a cause, and that cause had a cause, and we go regressively infinitely backward, then we would have an infinitely regressive line.
Ah, it's the good old turtles all the way down. A point that gets lost in the abyss of so what? There's either an infinite regress or there's not. And sure, from our frame of reference, that being inside a universe where that doesn't appear to be possible, the answer seems obvious. But without knowing how things may work beyond that, if there even is a beyond, means that you can't really say shit for sure. You know that honesty earlier with the I don't know thing? You should really try that. It will make you sound less smug and self-assured.
Thus, it's completely appropriate and completely necessary for that cause to be uncaused, to have no beginning.
An uncaused causer, you might say, and while that is fun to think about, it's also completely illogical from our standpoint as well, because you already said it, everything that begins to exist has a cause. Well, if we're using our universe as a basis, then everything that exists seems to have had a beginning. So you posit that something is uncaused, that means it doesn't have a beginning, therefore it doesn't exist. Checkmate, Brainyismo. See, I can play stupid word games that don't prove shit too.
And to have the knowledge and creative capacity to change the situation.
What? No, you just pulled that right out of your ass. That's not anything. What are you talking about? That is nothing based on nothing that you just decided because it's in your mind means that it has to be your God, or at the very least something a lot like your God. But what if some uncaused causer was just a thing that did universes with no thought, no knowledge to what it's doing, and no creativity in the production of a universe? Because we have those. They're called machines that mindlessly make things using processes. And what is the universe if not a series of mindless processes? I mean, you can call that God if you want, but it's more like GODSX5256XXV 1.1. Oh, may his non-giving a shit what we do forever be praised. Not that he cares, obviously, or is even a he.
So, the only way an atheist can really destroy this argument is by destroying one of the two premises.
An atheist doesn't have to do shit, mate, aside from the fact that, again, it in no way demonstrates any god creature, only a possible universe starter for any fathomable description. But it also isn't an argument that they have to accept the premises of, and the premises themselves seem very incomplete. But that even if any of this shit was true, they still don't have to buy it, because they don't have to buy it. They can remain unconvinced no matter how clever you think this dumbass shit is.
One, which is that that everything that begins to exist has a cause. They can try and prove that, but then have to show why and how things don't come into existence.
You know, I less showed that because it's anything worth addressing, and more that he clearly is doing editing, but has left so many long-ass gaps in his presentation that make this absolutely agonizing to watch. So, as usual, Sir Six saves the day by cutting out seemingly minutes of nonsense, which is funny, because that means the whole premise of this video is false anyway, seeing it's supposed to be 8 minutes, but half of that appears to be silence. Well, you have even less time to say something really, really stupid. Well done.
Popping into existence on a day-to-day basis. They won't be able to show you this scientifically or empirically.
And neither will you be able to show a god making a universe pop into existence. What's your point? That none of us know anything? Well then, the reasonable response is not to jump on books written by people who clearly didn't know what they were talking about, since all religious texts fail at even basic science all the time. Atheism am the way to go, buddy.
The other premise is that the universe began to exist, and as we said, science pretty much confirms this reality.
Science doesn't confirm things, science makes educated guesses, basically. But the entire point of science is that everything has to be falsifiable. So even if something is how something works, we cannot know for 100% confirmed for sure, because what if something came along and shows that conclusion to be wrong, since you know that has happened over and over and over again. Unlike book, though, that is never allowed to be wrong, because if it's wrong about even one thing, then maybe it's wrong about everything, and that is just not acceptable. With science, being found wrong is a good thing, because that means we get to be even more correct.
Now, this really, I'll leave it open for the atheist.
Oh, will you? I mean, the whole thing is so full of holes that it's basically not even fucking there, but thanks. I am so grateful you will allow me this absolute pile of nothing. Cheers.
Try and break down this logical argument. Try and break it down.
I already did, mate, easily and with minimal effort. You see, the thing I did was I didn't accept your notions at face value and accept everything you said about them uncritically while nodding like a moron. But you gotta love his confidence that you just couldn't possibly have a shit ton to say about his specious reasoning, you know, because of how smart he is.
Another argument that you can bring forward to the atheist is what's referred to commonly as the fine-tuning argument.
Oh, fuck me if it isn't another shit argument for wankers.
Now, before I begin, I want to define fine-tuning here as that the universe is so fine-tuned that it would allow life to exist. I'm not talking necessarily about aesthetics, how beautiful the universe is or whatever.
Yeah, no one ever is. I don't know why you would feel the need to explain that it's not about how pretty everything is. Although, then again, I hope that means he at least understands that that's an even shitter argument for even bigger wankers. Because if universe pretty, therefore God, the presence of unpleasant shit, well, it makes that sound kind of stupid.
I'm talking about this particular definition that it allows life, any kind of life, to exist anywhere in the universe. Yeah?
Okay, so the ultimate conclusion would be that God did it on purpose because he wanted a humans to happen. But the problem with that is that if the universe wasn't the way it is, you wouldn't be able to say the universe is what is needed for life. So it's kind of a moot point. But regardless of if the universe has to be this way or it doesn't, that in no way demonstrates any kind of deity. Only that that's something about the universe that we don't know the answer to. Except we do. The universe developed the way it did via systems, and life just happens to be a cosmic fluke of reality. And perhaps that answer makes you sad, but reality gives not one shit about how you feel about it, and neither do I. And frankly, I don't know how many minutes in we are, but I think we've seen enough to know that you aren't about to conquer shit. I mean, you didn't even bring any conkers. Wasting my damn time.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the